When my wife Emily invited me to her office party, I almost declined. She had been working late for weeks, wrapped up in a major project, and I assumed the last thing she needed was her husband following along. But she insisted. "It's just a casual mixer," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Something in her tone caught my attention, so I agreed to go. I put on a simple suit, nothing flashy, and drove her downtown to the tall glass building she had been disappearing into every night. The party was already lively when we arrived. Laughter filled the room, glasses clinked, and a jazz band played softly in the corner. Emily quickly drifted off to greet her coworkers, leaving me standing near the bar. I noticed her boss almost immediately. He was tall, with slicked back hair and a smirk that seemed permanently fixed on his face. His name was Charles. He carried himself like a man who believed his expensive watch and tailored suit defined his worth. Soon enough, Emily brought me over. "This is my husband, Ryan," she said. Charles looked me over slowly, then flashed a condescending grin. "So, you're the lucky guy who stays home while Emily runs this place, huh?" A few people around him laughed, some awkwardly, but they laughed all the same. I offered a polite smile and stayed silent. He clearly assumed I was just an ordinary man riding on my wife's success. That's when I realized Emily had never told them what I did, or perhaps she chose not to. Charles continued. "You must have plenty of free time, Ryan," he said loudly. "Maybe you can teach me how to relax while my employees handle the real work." More laughter followed. Emily looked embarrassed but said nothing. I simply smiled and replied, "You'd be surprised what I do in my free time." He smirked, missing the quiet edge in my voice. I excused myself and returned to the bar while he leaned a little too close to Emily. Later that evening, the company's CEO was expected to arrive, the person everyone seemed nervous about impressing. The room buzzed with rumors of promotions and leadership changes. I sipped my drink, mildly amused, because none of them knew the truth. I was that CEO. 6 months earlier, through one of my investment firms, I had quietly acquired the company. I preferred staying behind the scenes, observing rather than announcing myself. But tonight, that was about to change. When the head of HR approached me, her eyes widened. "Mr. Turner?" she whispered, stunned. I smiled gently. "Let's keep it that way for now." I wanted to see how far Charles would go. A few minutes later, Charles stepped onto the stage with a microphone, making more jokes about lazy husbands and ambitious wives. The crowd laughed again. Emily shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Then the event coordinator took the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our CEO, the man behind Turner Holdings, our parent company." Applause filled the room as I stood and walked toward the stage. The silence that followed was immediate when Charles recognized me. His smirk disappeared. Emily's expression froze in shock. "Good evening," I began, my voice calm but firm. I hadn't planned to speak tonight, but after hearing such insightful humor from Mr. Charles, I felt compelled. A nervous ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. "I've always believed in treating employees and their spouses with respect," I continued, "because you never know who might be listening." I turned toward Charles, who was now visibly sweating. My tone remained professional, though unmistakably cold. "Charles, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but next time, save the jokes for those who find mediocrity amusing." The room fell silent. "Effective immediately," I added, "we will be reviewing leadership conduct across all departments. I expect professionalism from every manager, especially those who mock their superiors without realizing it." The head of HR gave a subtle nod from the crowd. Everyone understood what that meant. Charles attempted to stumble through an apology, but I gently patted his shoulder and said, "Relax. Maybe someday I'll teach you how to stay calm while your employees do the real work." The same words he had aimed at me now returned to him like a blade. The crowd reacted with a strange mix of uneasy laughter and shocked silence. Emily couldn't even bring herself to meet my eyes. I finished my short speech and stepped down from the stage, leaving the room wrapped in quiet disbelief. After the event ended, Emily hurried after me into the parking lot. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because I wanted to see how honest you would be," I replied calmly. "You never told anyone who I was. You let your boss humiliate me." She pressed her lips together, guilt clearly written across her face. "I didn't think," she began. "You didn't have to," I said, opening the car door. "But now you know exactly who I am." A week later, Charles resigned. Officially, it was for personal reasons. Unofficially, everyone understood the truth. Emily tried to repair the damage, apologizing for feeling embarrassed by my wealth and influence, something I had never used to define our marriage. But by then, the harm had already been done. That night at the party revealed more than arrogance. It showed me how little respect she truly had for me when she believed I was just an ordinary man. Sometimes power isn't about displaying what you have. It's about knowing the right moment to reveal it. That night, every smug laugh and whispered insult disappeared the instant they realized who they had been mocking, especially her boss. But the greatest realization was my own. I didn't just own the company, I owned my silence, and that silence was what completely shattered their illusion.